Good evening. This is CTV News for this Monday, November the 3rd. I'm Sonia Shrivastava. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, Election Day is tomorrow, and along with the highly contested gubernatorial race, you'll also vote for some important county issues. One of these is whether or not local lawmakers can serve an additional 4-year term. Our Stephen Graves is in the control room with more on that story.
When you head to the polls tomorrow, you'll run across question J at the end of your ballot, which asks you, the voter, if you're for or against extending term limits for county officials to an extra 4-year term. Now, this means county lawmakers would be able to sit for a total of 12 years, and supporters of this say that this will ultimately help the county capitalize on those current projects going on right now, while opposers say this is totally against public interest and is ultimately self-serving.
We have a great team on the field in Prince George's County the past 4 years, the lowest homicide since 1986, $4.7 billion in new commercial investment, an award-winning school superintendent, a new hospital on its way. Why would we take that team off the field when they're putting points on the scoreboard? We're at a big league against the big league teams of Montgomery and Fairfax and Loudoun. They don't have term limits.
You don't need 8 years, you don't need 12 years to learn how to serve the people, because what happens is you no longer serve the political interests of the community, you begin to serve the political interests of political bosses. That's why incumbents don't lose. That's why an overwhelming number of individuals in our community who have seen the destruction of the political process in our community deteriorate.
Term limits were first instituted in Prince George's County in 1992, and then in an attempt by lawmakers to repeal the rule actually failed in 2000. Now, 14 years later, the same subject is back on the ballot for voters like you to decide upon. In the control room, I'm Stephen Graves, CTV News.
All right, thank you, Stephen. And you'll find the referendum at the end of your ballot titled Question J. The change in term limits would affect how long the county executive and members of the county council could sit in office. Well, meanwhile, supporters of placing a lockbox on the state's transportation fund rally on Lawyers Mall this morning. Our Patricia Vallone is in Annapolis with more on that.
It's the first question on the ballot, and an alliance of supporters is asking Maryland residents to vote yes for the constitutional amendment.
There's a history here. In Maryland, we've been working at SMTA for over a decade with many of these groups to try to get increased investment in transportation. That means better roads, that means better bridges and better repair, that means more transit options for the people of the state and reduced congestion.
We've got the second highest, most congested means of transportation of any area in the United States except for Los Angeles. In the Baltimore metropolitan region, we have the longest commute time of any area in the United States except for New York. This is a quality of life issue for people to get from place to place, and by passing this, we keep faith with the people who pay their taxes at the pump.
It takes a supermajority of both houses to pass legislation and put it on the ballot for the citizens to vote on it as a constitutional amendment. And once it goes in the Maryland Constitution, it is basically the law of the land and cannot be changed without going back to the citizens of the state of Maryland.
Now, if passed, no one would be able to dip into that fund unless a fiscal emergency is declared, and 3/5 of both houses approve that transfer. From Annapolis, I'm Patricia Vallone for CTV News.
The event was sponsored by the Coalition to Protect Maryland's Transportation Fund, a broad-based group of business, labor, and transit leaders. Well, Maryland Comptroller Peter Franchot made multiple campaign stops in Prince George's today. We caught up with him at the Bowie Town Center this afternoon. Franchot is being challenged by Republican William Campbell. The comptroller says the fact that the gubernatorial race is neck and neck is unexpected, considering Maryland is a heavily Democratic state. Franchot, who supports Anthony Brown, has been very vocal in opposing many of the proposals presented by the O'Malley administration.
The new governor is going to have some major responsibilities about belt tightening, making sure that we're spending within our means, and essentially we can no longer kick the can down the road that we've done for a number of years, taking cash out of funds and replacing it with debt. We're maxed out on debt, we're maxed out on spending, we're maxed out on taxes.
Now, Franchot also made a stop at the New Carrollton Metro Station this morning. Well, numerous school board seats are also up for grabs in the upcoming general election. There are 4 specific races to look out for when you head to the polls. In District 2, newcomer Loopy Grady is challenging incumbent Peggy Higgins. Amber Waller of District 3 is looking for another term, but she's being challenged by lawyer Denora Hernandez. District 6 incumbent Carolyn Boston is up against a familiar opponent, Pat Fletcher, and lawyer Dominique Flowers is looking to take District 9 incumbent Sonia Williams' seat. Now, new candidates promise to focus on issues such as the budget and parent-student involvement if elected. And you are watching CTV News. I'm Sonia Srivastava.